Well, good morning to all of you across Malaysia and across Southeast Asia. My name is Susanne Rantzowaso. This is Euraxis ASEAN, and you're just joining us for the 2020 edition of the European Research Day. Now, the European Research Day, of course, is our platform for you, the research community, to learn about the opportunities that Europe has on offer for you for your career development, to get you networked with your research peers across Europe. And I think in the times that we're currently finding ourselves in, there's a lot of anxiety amongst especially early career researchers who are not entirely sure what COVID-19 and the restrictions mean for your research career and for your international network. So I think this is an opportune time for us to just emphasize international collaboration for researchers is as important as it has always been, and the opportunities remain present for you to work with European partners or to spend some time in Europe. We'll be hearing today about one of the powerhouses in Europe when it comes to research, innovation and higher education, Germany. I'll be introducing you to our presenter in a minute, and he's, I know, very excited to get started. Before that, I would like to just briefly introduce you to the Euraxis platform, because I know that you as early career researchers are sometimes a bit concerned to find out where are the opportunities, how can I learn about the funding opportunities in Europe, how can I get in touch with European partners. And I wanted to just quickly show you the Euraxis platform, and I hope you can see this here, because Euraxis really is a wonderful one-stop information and support tool for researchers of any nationality and also of any academic discipline for career development. What you find on the Euraxis portal is, most importantly, a database of research jobs, fellowships and funding opportunities all across Europe, including, of course, Germany, the country that we'll be hearing about later today. We also have on the Euraxis portal a partnering tool. This, again, for early career researchers, is often an obstacle, finding research collaborators, be it individuals or universities, research organizations. We have this here for you to make it easy to expand your research network. We also have a hosting database, and I'm sure our speaker will talk to you later on about fellowship opportunities in Germany for which you would need a host institution in Germany. With this hosting database, once again, we're making it easier for you to find a potential supervisor, to find a potential collaborator. There is plenty of information on the Euraxis portal. We currently have 36 European countries, including Germany, that are part of the network, and each of them has their own dedicated information page. So we have Euraxis Germany also on the portal, and you will find their information about living in Germany, funding opportunities, anything that's related to your research stay, and also the well-being of your family if they were to accompany you. There's also lots of personalized assistance, and I think that's what makes this particularly interesting, that you have a network of people that are there to support you, not only with making your research stay in Europe, in Germany, a reality, but also helping you get in touch with European researchers. You know, often you try to email a professor and he or she doesn't necessarily reply, so you can also ask the Euraxis Service Center's assistance for some help. I am in Asia, in Southeast Asia. I'm actually just next door in Singapore, and I'm always available for any support that you may need, any additional information. I've put in here the QR code that will lead you to the Euraxis ASEAN website, where you will find information about what we are up to. Besides our European Research Day, we do run a lot of other events, proposal writing workshops. We have a series going on right now about publishing with Taylor and Francis. So just click on it and see what we have in store for you. And with this, I will stop sharing my screen, and now is the time for me to introduce you to our speaker today. Our speaker is Dr. Brian Trenaman. Brian is the director of the German Academic Exchange Service Information Centre in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and he will tell you all about the huge amount of opportunities, if I may say so, available to researchers in Germany. Brian, I will give you the opportunity now to share your slides, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, so first of all, please allow me to thank you very much for organizing this event. Once again, the European Research Day is for us, the DAAD in Malaysia, every year a very important, if not the most important event, where we have the opportunity to reach out to so many researchers, established researchers, those of you who aspire to become a researcher. And the show up for today already indicates actually how important the European Research Day is in Malaysia or in the region in general. And I'm also very grateful that so many of you showed up to my slot today, and I hope you will remain coming to the various events during this week that Euraccess is offering. Euraccess is a very important platform and also a communication tool for the DAAD as well. And so once again, thank you very much, Susanna, for this great opportunity, and thank you all for joining my session. So with this, I would like to start my presentation, and I would like to start with one aspect that is quite important to give a better understanding what Germany and tertiary education in Germany and the research landscape is all about. So because we, as you may know, education and tertiary education in Germany in general is for free. And this also extends to international students, whether you do your undergraduate studies, postgraduate studies, or your PhD and so forth. And of course, we often get asked, what's wrong with you Germans? Why do you give away your tertiary education for free? If we compare it with other countries, the English-speaking countries, you will face quite severe tuition fees. And Germany seems to be doing something different in this aspect. And the answer to this question is threefold. And for me personally, the first answer to this question is the most important one, which is in Germany, the majority of us Germans, we believe in an open society. And the reason why we are such a strong advocate for an open society has three reasons, basically. The one is has got an historic dimension. As you can see, Germany is located right at the center of the European Union, and historically, basically, the European history is a long line of wars with neighboring countries among the neighbors. And in the last World War, Germany had the great idea that the German society or the German race is superior to the rest of the world. And we thought at that particular period of time that the best way to move forward in Europe is to conquer the rest of Europe, and maybe afterwards also the rest of the world. And luckily, I have to say, this went terribly wrong for Germany, and it gave the German society a chance to rise from the ashes. And what came out of it is basically a very peaceful democracy, where we wanted afterwards, learning our lesson, go in a completely different direction by not shutting out the rest of the world, not trying to conquer the rest of the world, but to open up ourselves to the world. And this is the first reason why we nowadays are welcoming international students, international researchers, international workers to Germany, and also refugees, like you have seen during the so-called refugee crisis in 2015. The second reason is that we also have a declining demography. So until today, I mean, we have to see what the repercussions of the coronavirus crisis is going to be for the industry. Of course, there will be going to be repercussions, but still, Germany is in a strong demand for a skilled workforce, and the own population cannot cater for this strong demand. So our concept here is that we would like to invite international students, international researchers to come to Germany, stay with us for a certain time, and if you like it, stay until the rest of your life in Germany, because we would really like to welcome you in Germany, and to also make a living there, and maybe to also settle in Germany. And the third reason is Germany, as the third biggest exporting nation in the world, is also considering opening up to international students as a long-term investment, which means once international students and researchers come to Germany, you or they will experience the German obsession with quality. So our thinking is that if you decide to go back to your own country and climb the corporate ladder to the level where you are able to make decisions from which country to buy from, you inevitably, this is our hope, will refer back to Germany, because you already experienced our obsession with quality. And I think a good indicator for our culture of an open society is our transformation process towards internationalization. And we have a couple of numbers that I've also included in my presentation, but since you're all researchers, I'm very sure that you don't mind. There's going to be plenty more numbers for statistics. This is our way actually to measure the world and have a better understanding of the world. So a great indicator for our internationalization is, for instance, that we have now for the winter semester 2019-20, a total of 412,000 international students, which makes up to 14% of the student population. And in addition to this, we also have 42,000 international academicians in both in teaching and in research working in Germany, and a total of 34,000 international collaborations in 150 different countries. And the diversity of researchers is also reflected by the abundance of the education and research landscape that you will find in Germany. So this is Germany, and these are not the cities, all of the cities in Germany, but all the dots that you can see here show cities which have at least one university or University of Applied Sciences or college, and we have a total of 424 institutions, higher education institutions in Germany, whereas the majority of these higher education institutes are universities of applied sciences. You may be familiar with this. If you'd like to find out more, please visit us on our website or come to one of our info sessions, then I can further explain to you what the concept of University of Applied Science is. And 107 universities, and the rest are various colleges, for instance, for art and music, public administration, theology, or education. And if we now dig into the research landscape in Germany, you will find that we have a total of 25,000 research institutes in total. And if you refer back to the number I just mentioned, the 424 universities, where also quite a big number are colleges where no research at all is conducted, you will soon realize that all these research institutes, they cannot be at universities. So give me a minute and then I will explain to you further where the various research institutes are located in Germany. And within these 25,000 research institutes in Germany, we have a total of now almost 708,000 staff working in R&D, research and development, while 60% of these 708,000 staff are researchers. This is the number from 2018. So roughly around 420,000 researchers working in R&D. So as I just mentioned, I will just explain you a little bit more about the research landscape in Germany. And you will find three pillars in Germany where R&D, where research is conducted. And the first one, of course, is the classical place for research, which are the higher education institutions, where usually fundamental research is conducted. And the second pillar are the so-called research institutes, and later on I will further explain you who the most important players in Germany are, where fundamental research is conducted as well as cutting-edge research. And the third pillar of the research landscape in Germany is the industry, where cutting-edge research is conducted, always, of course, for the sake of commercialization. And if you think about the industry in Germany, I'm very sure that especially the automotive industry will pop up in your mind. This is quite renowned in the world. And if you give it a second thought, then very surely you will also remember a couple of these multinational German companies you already heard of. And I've chosen specifically those multinational companies which are also residing here in Malaysia, also with production sites either in Penang or here in the Klang Valley, being quite active and also being important employers here in this region. But Germany's economic backbone are not these big players that you can see here on this slide. The true backbone of the German economy are the so-called small and medium-sized enterprises, which we call in German the so-called Mittelstand. And their importance is indicated by a very significant number. 99.6% of the companies are small and medium enterprises. So while big multinational companies are very well renowned, the true backbone of the German industry are the small and medium enterprises, employing around 60% of the German workforce. And many of these small and medium enterprises are hidden champions, world market leaders in their respective niche segments. And together with the aforementioned internationally leading large companies, they make up Germany's manufacturing industrial base. And Germany's small and medium enterprises very often don't have the means or the human resource capacity to run their own research and development, and thus they strongly depend on higher education and research institutes. And the following picture is, in my belief, the epitome of a beautiful synergy between these small and medium enterprises and universities or research institutes, which is the Formula Student racing car from Stuttgart. And as you can see here, there may be a couple of names known by you, for instance, Siemens, Bosch, or Porsche, but there are also many other names actually you've most likely never heard of, because they are in a very specific niche that is not familiar to us consumers, but they are very important actually for the industry as suppliers or as OEM. And so with this, we will find at universities or universities of applied sciences a very strong link between theory and practice, where the industry also comes in. They not only outsource researchers, they also contribute in terms of their machine park, and asking universities or universities of applied sciences to conduct research on their behalf. So applied sciences and research is a big factor in the German research landscape. And another big number I'm coming up with to give you a better idea about the research landscape in Germany. In 2018, a total of 105 billion euros was allocated to research. While the majority of this total budget was spent by the private sector, while the public sector is here divided between higher education institutes with 18 billion and then the publicly funded research institutes, which I will introduce to you in a short while. So in the public sector, the most important funding organizations for research is the German Research Foundation, Deutsche Forschungsgesellschaft, with an operative budget of currently 3 billion euros. And through this Deutsche Forschungsgesellschaft, 277 collaborative research centers are funded. So in Germany, inventions, innovation, and ingenuity have a long tradition, rooted way back in pre-industrialized times. Hence, we in Germany like to promote ourselves as Germany, land of ideas. Among the many inventions entirely unheard of because they are basically a B2B, there are many which are also a constant companion of our daily life. And I just give you a couple of examples which you might be surprised to hear that they have been invented in Germany. For instance, the book print by Johannes Gutenberg in 1450, which triggered a media revolution later on when Luther also translated the Bible and made the knowledge much more available to the common people. Or the bicycle is, which is also a German invention by Baron Karl von Drais in 1817. And a fun fact, this invention is related to Southeast Asia. On the 15th of July, 1812, in Indonesia, the volcano Tambora erupted, which caused a global change in the climate and also led to a strong drought in Europe. And as a consequence, in Germany, eventually, the horses also had to be slaughtered because there was not enough crops available. So they went back to the last resources they had. So the horses had to be slaughtered. And as a result, Baron Karl von Drais came up with an alternative to the horse and invented the bicycle. What you can see here may not look that fancy, but as a matter of fact, this is a Mercedes-Benz. It's the first the first Mercedes-Benz in the world. It's the so-called Patent Motorwagen #1, which Karl Benz developed in 1855. And because he wanted to test it on the roads of Karlsruhe, he then also applied for a permit to test this vehicle on the roads, and this permit can also be seen as the first driving license in the world. Robert Koch also ventured the areas of bacteriology in '87 and made with this a major breakthrough in the science to have a better understanding of bacteriology in general, and leading to a better understanding of the importance of hygiene, which we also nowadays understand is something very imperative to adhere. Another important invention also in the areas of medicine is this invention that you all better know as so-called X-rays. And the reason why it's called X-ray is because nobody, despite from the Germans, can really properly pronounce the name of the inventor, which is Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen, 1895. And to make it easier for the rest of the world, the Americans decided just to call it X-rays. Aspirin is an invention by Felix Hoffmann from 1900, which is better known here also in Malaysia as Panadol. And the computer is also a German invention, and not an invention coming from the Americans, who are nowadays very strong. Konrad Zuse already lay the foundation for the binary calculation in 1941 when he came up with the development of this great apparatus you can see on this slide. And a daily companion of Vasol is the so-called chip card, an invention made in 1969, and one invention coming from the Fraunhofer Institute of für integrierte Schaltungen, it's called, integrated switches. In 1982, this also led to another media revolution when all of a sudden music became available on the internet for free. So just to give you an overview of a couple of German inventions, what I try to highlight here is that all these great ideas, of course, require right minds. And a couple of these great minds you will see here on the list of our Nobel laureates, the German scientists who receive Nobel laureate, for instance, here with Otto von Hahn. Robert Koch is here, Heisenberg, Albert Einstein, Max Planck, and down here with the beard, this is Mr. Röntgen. And on a yearly basis, annually, almost 50,000 patent registrations are filed in coming from Germany, which makes Germany the 5th place in terms of patent registrations. And of course, bright minds will only evolve in a nurturing environment. Sorry, 50,000, yes. The environment that Germany can offer in terms of its tertiary education, for instance, is that the degrees coming from Germany are highly recognized internationally, with Germany being part of the Lisbon Recognition Convention, and with 53 total members of countries, and bilateral agreements with another 15 countries. And you will also find in Germany, with the higher education institutes, quite good infrastructure. We could be on a higher level, but in general, I think we're doing pretty well in terms of the infrastructure, especially when it comes to our libraries, but also in terms of the research facilities that you will find in Germany. And another good selling point, I would say, for Germany is that going to Germany means you would be in a safe and economically stable environment. And there is this survey conducted annually by Save Around, where Germany scores 85% in the safety index. So there might be a medium risk of pickpockets and so forth. We had in a certain period of time in the past that medium risk for terrorism, but the rest is basically quite low. If you decide to make Germany your destination, there's also something else that you will enjoy over there, which are our 4 seasons. For instance, here a beautiful picture from Kochen am Rhein, or here the Bavarian forest, autumn and winter. And you will be also residing in a country with a very rich history. For instance, I suppose this castle is already known to you, if not in real for this picture, but you know it already from Walt Disney's logo for his company. Walt Disney was a big fan of German fairy tales, and also of this particular castle, Neuschwanstein. Or here another picture of the Hohenzollern castle, the Wartburg. This is where Martin Luther took refuge when he was not the most popular person in the Vatican, and he had to take refuge. And he also translated the Bible into German here on Castle Wartburg. Or here Heidelberger Schloss and Burg Letz, a beautiful castle next to the River Rhine. But we cannot, we're not only good in historic buildings. I think in terms of modern architecture, you will also find that Germany is doing pretty well. Also here with skyline of Frankfurt am Main. After the Brexit, very surely the epicenter of European finance. So after introducing Germany, please allow me to also make you a little bit more familiar with the most important websites relevant for researchers. I would say the most important website in this matter is the website that the DAAD is also running in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Education and Research, which is Research in Germany. And as you can see here on the left side, you have links for students, for PhD students, postdocs, and senior researchers. And we also have a section specifically for jobs and careers in research. One section for funding opportunities, elaborating more about the research landscape in Germany, and then also how to plan your stay, and current events and activities like web seminars, or also eventually we will also start meeting in person again. So the various events will also be listed here. So it's a website worthwhile checking out for you as researchers or aspiring to become a researcher, because basically all the information that I'm also comprising here in my presentation, you will find once again on this website in further detail. So the website is Research in Germany. Susanne is recording this session, so you can always come back to the recording. And in addition to this, you will also receive the PDF document of all my slides, where all the websites that I'm mentioning and all the information is already contained. And another important website, I think, for researchers is GERIT, German Research Institutes, where you can get a better understanding of the various research institutes institutions in Germany, and find out what they are currently working on, what their portfolio is, and in which areas they are currently conducting research in. So this website would be gerit.org. And one website specifically to find out what kind of research is done at the moment. We have a website called Research Map, The German title is Forschungslandkarte, and through this website, it will be quite easy for you to then find researchers and research institutes which are relevant to your specific research domain, which are relevant for your specific research area. So now please allow me to briefly introduce you to our 4 most important research institutes, the second pillar of the German research landscape in Germany. So the first one is the HELMHOLTZ Association, and then you may already have heard of it, the Max Planck Society, Leibniz Association, and last but not least, the Fraunhofer Society. I'll just briefly explain to you what their portfolio is, so that you can afterwards decide which research institute to look further into. So Helmholtz, the Helmholtz Society is Germany's largest research organization with 19 autonomous research centers, a total of 40,000 staff, and an annual budget 2018 of 4.7 billion euros. And their portfolio comprises energy, earth and environment, health sciences, aeronautics, space and transport, matter, and key technologies. And it's really worth going to their website if any of these areas are relevant for you, and to also check out their career site to see what kind of postings they have. They have various postings for PhD positions, for postdoc positions, for established researchers, full positions, but also for research assistants if you want to enter their organization on this level. So this is Helmholtz Careers, Our Future is Yours. And their website, I think I should have updated this one. The other numbers I showed you already are updated, but this one is not updated. I'm very sorry for this. So the last time I checked, there were 349 vacancies. So I invite you to check it out today, maybe, and see how many positions there are available, vacancies, but I'm very sure that the number is something around there. The next research institute I would like to introduce to you is the Max Planck Society, which is conducting a basic research in natural sciences, in life sciences, and also in humanities. And you will find 84 Max Planck institutes and facilities in Germany with 25,000 employees and an annual budget of 1.6 billion euros. And this is their website. They made it very easy for all of us. It's just mpg.de. On the career side, you will find offers for PhD candidates, postdocs, and researchers for full employment. The Leibniz Gemeinschaft has got 95 independent research institutions in Germany, an annual budget of almost 2 billion euros, around 20,000 employees, and they are dealing with natural sciences, engineering, environmental sciences, economics, and spatial and social sciences, and one more, and also humanities. And their website is a little bit longer, the Leibniz-Gemeinschaft.de. But as I mentioned before, you don't need to jot down any of these websites because they are already in the slides that Susanna will make available for you. And on the last page of these slides, all the website addresses I'm mentioning here will be linked for your convenience. Last but not least, we have the Fraunhofer Institute, which is Europe's largest application-oriented research organization with 25,000 employees and 72 institutes and an annual budget of 2.3 billion euros. And Fraunhofer is conducting research in health, security, communication, energy, environment. And their website is fraunhofer.de. Okay, good. Another website is within, oh no, it's a separate website. It's called GEPRIS. And GEPRIS basically is the database on all currently DFG funded research projects. So that's also a great opportunity for you to find out more about research conducted in your specific area, and through this to also find out which kind of researchers or professors are currently working in your specific research area, and to then start networking with these specific researchers. So their website, GEPRIS. Okay, as I mentioned in the beginning, in general, tertiary education in Germany is for free. One thing, or another way actually to look at it is that when you decide to, for instance, do your PhD in Germany, you will automatically get a scholarship because it means, what I mean with this is that education, of course, is not for free. Someone has to pay for it, but in Germany, the taxpayer is paying for it. So when you study in Germany, whether it's your master's or your PhD, you enjoying the free tuitions, and therefore you will get a scholarship, of course, in quotation marks, by the German taxpayer. And should you considering doing your master or a PhD in Germany, you have to expect a semester fee of around 1,400 ringgit. Which also comprises a semester ticket, which allows you to use public transportation for free, and also contributes to your social security while you're in Germany. The cost of living in Germany is quite reasonable compared to the rest of Europe. We are in the mid-range in terms of the living expenses. You need to expect around 45,000 ringgit per annum roughly, while housing takes the biggest chunk out of your monthly budget. And in addition to this, you also need to cover your health insurance, which is mandatory in Germany, which will cost you around 5,000 ringgit per annum. But the good news is it's a comprehensive health insurance and will cover everything. And the insurers in Germany are also obliged to take in anyone independent of any preconditions. Another good offer from Germany, I'd say, is that after graduating, after your bachelor or your master or your PhD, with your visa staying in Germany, you are allowed to stay another 1.5 years behind to look for employment on this student visa. And while you're looking for employment, if you manage to secure a job, you from then on can stay as long as you like. And after a couple of years, you can even apply for the German citizenship and stay for good in Germany. So now let's come to the juicy part of my presentation, the funding opportunities provided by the DAAD. First thing I would like to mention now in the beginning is when you consider going to Germany for your PhD, you have to decide whether you would like to go for an individual doctorate and a structured PhD, and it's roughly similar to the situation also in Malaysia, but there are some slight differences when you compare these two options with Malaysia. So first, you need to find a university professor as your supervisor. This is equivalent, and you need to be very, very flexible and absolutely self-motivated, and you also need to show a lot of initiative if you're opting for an individual doctorate, because you cannot expect a German professor to follow up with you where you currently are. So when you're stuck at a certain point, it's up to you to approach your supervisor and ask for his or her advice. So you're very much self-responsible for getting through with your individual doctorate. So there's almost no real structure in terms of a curriculum or seminars that you need to attend in order to qualify for an individual doctorate. And it will usually take you 3 to 5 years. If you're more are more convenient with a structured or with a little bit of more structure, which helps you to get going, then you should look into the structured PhD option, where we have in Germany over 700 programs offered, and instead of one supervisor, you will have a team of supervisors. One criteria for selection is that your research proposal has to fit into this graduate academy for your structured PhD. But therefore, on the other hand, you also need to expect that attendance is compulsory in a structured PhD, and you will accumulate credit points. So it's basically very much a continuation of your previous studies, but therefore you are quite sure that it won't take longer than 3 years. Right from the beginning, I would like to highlight our website here. So if you would like to find out more about the various funding options that the DAAD is offering, please come to our website, which is Funding-Guide. And I made a selection now for you, which are relevant to research. But when you go to the website, make sure that here you click the right status and then also the country of origin. Country of origin means where you are currently residing, and let's say you're just about to finish your master's and you're an international student in Malaysia, doing your master's here or completing your PhD here, then the country of origin remains Malaysia. So this is not referring to your citizenship, but to where you are going to get your degree from. Okay, Funding-Guide. And for PhD candidates, the most relevant funding option is the so-called research grants, where excellently qualified young academics and scientists who have completed a master's degree can apply for. And the research grants are covering either individual projects under supervision or structured doctoral program. So the two options I already introduced to you. And the maximum duration for this funding is 4 years, and research phases outside of Germany are funded if they are relevant for your research. So while you are receiving a scholarship from the DAAD for staying in Germany, you cannot fly back to Malaysia for meeting your family and then expect the funding to continue for a longer period of time. But if you, for instance, are working in the sector of biology and you're doing some research in tropical medicine, something like this, then of course it might be relevant to come back to Malaysia to conduct some research on Borneo, for instance. And with this, successfully applying for the research grant, you will receive 1,200 euro per month. And in addition to this, also the expenses for health, accident, and personal liability insurance. And you will also receive a travel allowance going to Germany and then afterwards flying back. A requirement for applying for this research grant is that your graduation date cannot be longer ago than 6 years. And the language level depends on the subject and plan. Usually with English, you won't be having any difficulties. So the German language is not a requirement for postgraduate studies in Germany anymore. They may ask you for indicating your English level of language competency. But when you're indicating that you have studied in Malaysia, where English is language of instruction, quite often it might also be waived. And the application deadline is the 15th of October. So we have come together today at a very good window of opportunity where many of our scholarships are now open for application. Similar to the research grant is the bi-nationally supervised PhD, which is basically the same. The only difference is that you already have a supervisor here in Malaysia, or that you're going to have a supervisor here in Malaysia, and you will conduct half of your research phases in Germany with a supervisor in Germany as well. And therefore, for maximum half of the duration that you will reside in Germany, you will then also get this particular scholarship. And while you are back in at your home university, the funding by this funding scheme, by the scholarship, is interrupted. I already mentioned the graduate school scholarship, so it addresses once again to the same group of people, at least a master's degree, and it's funding PhD projects at a structured graduate school in Germany, also with a duration of 4 years, and with the same benefits already mentioned, but the procedure is slightly different. So only after applying at a participating graduate school, and we have the list on our website, you will find it on Funding Minus Guide. You are going to be nominated for a scholarship by said graduate school, and you are asked to then upload your application in the DAAD portal. So while you are directly applying for the research grant at the DAAD, here you first need to secure that you have been nominated by the graduate school. Another funding opportunity is the postdoctoral research, the DAAD Research Fellowship, which addresses outstanding researchers in the fields of space, aeronautics, energy, and transportation research. And it covers research stays at an institute of the DLR, with offers for 36 months for PhD students, 6 to 24 months for junior researchers, and 1 to 3 months for senior researchers. And we have a range of scholarships depending on your current status, from 1,500 to 2,300 euros per month, plus travel allowance, insurances, and also family allowances. And the application deadline, there is no one application deadline. It is according to the offers. So I'd like to invite you to go to the website of the DLR, or through our portal Funding Minus Guide, and check out what kind of offers, what kind of positions, research stays are currently available, offered by the DLR. Another interesting funding opportunity is the 1-year grant. This addresses excellently qualified doctoral candidates and young academics. And the requirement here is that the research needs to be conducted at a state-recognized institution of higher education or a non-university research institute in Germany. So the non-university research institutes are the 4 research organizations I already introduced to you. And the duration for this funding is 7 to 10 months. And depending on your current status, you can receive 1,000 euro as a graduate, 1,200 as a PhD position or a postdoc, plus travel allowance, insurances, and a one-off research allowance. So you need to have a master's degree, and the application deadline, once again, is also the 15th of October. The established researcher among you can opt for a so-called research stay. It addresses university teachers, established academics, scientists, and scientists with a doctoral degree. And the same applies also like the previous stipend. Research stays at state or state recognized institutions of higher education or non-university research institutes in Germany. And the duration is 1 to 3 months. And assistant teachers, assistant professors, and lecturers would receive €2,000, professors €2,150, plus travel allowances. Important here is that the requirement would be the research project must be coordinated with an academic host institute in Germany. And for this, we have 2 application deadlines. So if you can't make it this year until 15th of October, you have another deadline, which is the 15th of April. The postdoctoral researchers international mobility experience, short called PRIME, addresses outstanding postdoctoral researchers from all disciplines and nationalities. And your research stay in Germany is funded for a duration up to 18 months. And you will receive 3,000 to 4,500 euro per month plus travel allowances. And the application deadline, unfortunately, for this particular program is now over, but maybe you can consider it for next year. And the host, this is the only restriction you will find here in this program, must be a university. Also, in my slides, on the last slide, you will find our various brochures also as PDF for you to click and then automatically download. And one of the important brochures that we are having in place is Funding Your Research in Germany. And for those of you who are interested in pursuing a PhD in Germany, the German Doctorate Guide for Doctoral Candidates. And then we also have for master's students, international doctoral, for PhD students, international doctoral programs in Germany, and many other brochures also in place. So this one is also an interesting brochure for you to look into, the industrial research in Germany, research careers in Germany, and the German research landscape. And we also have specific brochures for various research areas, for instance here, material science and engineering, ecology and evolution, immunology and infectology, and so forth. So for all kind of research areas, we also have a specific brochure to get you to allow you to get some better idea about the research landscape in your specific area. Maybe concluding my presentation, an important note about the information on coronaviruses. So on our website, we have, of course, one section entirely dedicated to mobility during these difficult times. And I'm happy to announce that the Robert Koch Institute, which is the most important research organization in terms of immunology, is the main reference in Germany for anything related also to this pandemic. And they published a list of the various countries which are considered to be international risk areas, and Malaysia is not on the list, which means that coming from Germany, you can coming from Malaysia, you can enter Malaysia. You can enter Germany. You're not banned from entering. You just need to check whether you either can bring a COVID test yourself from Malaysia, or whether you need to do a test in Germany once again and then go into quarantine. So these information, they will vary, but I would like to invite you to also go to this website of the Robert Koch Institute and then download also this information concerning the various countries, and get a better understanding of what kind of requirements are necessary. So, but at the moment, Malaysia is with the very good numbers that we can see here for COVID, is not considered to be a risk area. Okay, once again, to highlight the most important websites among the many websites I introduced to you is researchingermany.org. So despite from the Q&A sessions that we're going to start in a few seconds, I would like to also invite you to stay in touch with us. You can come to our website, which is, this is the new version which we're going to launch in October. I don't want to show you our old website anymore because we're just about in the transition period of moving to the new version. But the URL is daadkl.org, and feel free to drop us an email whenever you like, any further questions about research in Germany to info@daad-malaysia.org. So with this, I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and then also opening the floor for the Q&A session.
Well, thank you so much, Brian. That was excellent, and as we've had plenty of opportunities, we have received quite a large number of questions, so I'm going to read them out to you, so we have an opportunity to ask them. Even if people have to leave, I know this is sometimes the case, but at least we'll have this recorded and everybody can go back at the recording, at the slides at their own leisure. So we have a few questions here. We have a question from Roland in the Philippines, who is wondering if there's special opportunities for medical doctors to receive some training in Germany. Are there any special opportunities for medical doctors, or where would you suggest people start looking?
So you're looking rather to go for special training for medical doctors, if I get the question right, yeah.
Exactly.
So there's also a strong need actually for a medical workforce in Germany. We're short on doctors and nurses, and the entire health sector is short, so therefore I would like to invite you to also go to a website which is called I need to look it up. Make it in Germany. Make it in Germany. I think it's DE also. Just Google "Make it in Germany," and there you will find a section specifically for medical staff who is interested to go for training, or also to consider entirely making a career in Germany.
Thank you, Brian. There are several questions, including from Muhammad Shakiri, who is in Malaysia, who is wondering if you have any advice how to get in touch with a potential supervisor in Germany. So if you're trying to reach out to find a supervisor for your PhD or for your postdoc, what would be your advice how to make sure you get a reply?
Yeah, okay, this is a frequently asked question, and I need to assure you that sometimes it might be a little bit a daunting task. So first of all, you need to identify who's the perfect supervisor for your specific research area, and you should be able to identify those by the area you're already working on through the literature, to see who's strong in your specific area, to see the names, and then basically it's trying to get in touch with these professors, and in order to get the conversation going, I think it's very important to highlight the win-win situation. So what are you doing in your area that might be also relevant for the professor? So don't just approach a professor to say, I want you as my supervisor, so please help me, but I'm working currently on this specific topic, which is in your research area, and from this perspective, and therefore I think it's relevant also for your research. So if you are able to formulate a win-win situation, then it will be much easier for you to get in touch with the professor, and you get a much faster reply.
Thank you, Brian. If I may add, because I also receive this question very often, it's really important to be as specific as possible in your email. I also receive emails sometimes where people are just very brief and say, I'm a PhD student in biomedical sciences, I need a grant. And I would not reply to this because I don't know exactly what it is that you're doing, what exactly the grant is supposed to be for. So try to be as specific. And as Brian said, you need to make sure that the supervisor has an interest in working with you, that they see working with you also is of benefit to their institution and to that particular person's work. And also it helps if you ask maybe your peers to look over the email to get some tip from someone, whether it's clear or not. We have more questions, of course. Just give me a second here. I just scroll down. The question on the COVID situation you have already responded to, of course. This seems to be a concern of researchers that they're worried that they might not be able to actually get into Germany if they get a grant. Would you just like to emphasize this again, Brian?
So it's basically the same situation also for researchers as for international students coming here from Malaysia. You are basically allowed to enter Germany with maybe the restriction of going for a quarantine period of 2 weeks, but basically you are allowed to go to Germany. So also talking about the funding by the DAAD, when it comes to international students, you need to also indicate that being present in Germany is important for your studies as a master or PhD or a bachelor student, but also for research. And if you can indicate that it's inevitable for you to be physically present in Germany, then usually it should be granted. You should receive a visa for your stay in Germany.
Thank you so much. One other question that keeps popping up a lot is, of course, Germany is known for the engineering and the biomedical sciences. And so our colleagues joining today from the social sciences and the humanities are a little bit concerned. Are there also opportunities for those researchers to work with Germany or in Germany?
Yes, of course. So as I've shown in the beginning, we have quite a vast landscape in tertiary education. So you will find many comprehensive universities in Germany, the 107 universities in total, which are all comprehensive universities, and they have all faculties, all domains, so also for social sciences, for humanities. I know Germany is associated with engineering, but rest assured that we have the full landscape, and you have plenty of opportunities also to conduct a PhD, a master, bachelor, undergraduate studies in social sciences as well as in humanities. And also, I mentioned the 2 research institutes who are also offering research in humanities and social sciences.
Thank you, Brian. Another question. We've heard already about the funding opportunities, so there are grants available for international students at various levels. What about international students at postgraduate level that may need to work to supplement their income? Is it allowed for those individuals to do part-time work?
Yes, so students in general have the opportunity to work in Germany, not only postdoc, but also masters or undergraduate students. And it's 90 days per year in full time. And ideally, you should also do this work actually in your specific domain, because you will get a much better salary rather than working in a typical daily student job. But in addition to this, please also check out the career opportunities with the research institutes I already mentioned, because there are full positions that might be relevant for your specific research area, where you basically will get an employment. And also research institutes at universities offer research positions. So you're not limited to universities to conduct your research without any salary. You can also look for a postdoc position which is fully paid for.
Thank you so much. Maybe two more questions. First of all, are there opportunities also for short-term attachments that you would like to highlight in particular?
So short-term research.
Exactly, short-term research attachments.
Yeah, so we have a 1-year grant, which I already mentioned in my slides, and a research stay, which is even shorter, for 1 to 3 months. So these are the two options where the DAAD is also offering funding opportunities for.
Thank you so much. And maybe as a final question, are there any bilateral schemes that the DAAD is running maybe with institutions in Malaysia or maybe somewhere else in Southeast Asia that you could introduce us to?
This one I'm not so sure about. No, I don't know. Zon, do you happen to know any bilateral agreements?
I'm also not sure, but I mean, I would just say to the listeners today that we will probably look this up and find out if anything is available, any bilateral grants.
Yeah.
I think with
I know that. Sorry, maybe in addition to this, at University of Malaya, I know that there's an Erasmus Mundus collaboration that might be relevant for those students who are attached to University of Malaya. And there's also an Asia-Europe Institute at University of Malaya, which of course is having a bilateral agreement between Germany and between Europe and Malaysia in particular.
Well, thank you so much, Brian. I think with this, we've reached the end. I know there are plenty of other questions online. We will try to attend to them in the follow-up. As Brian has already said, this session has been recorded. We will share the recording with you. We will share Brian's slides as well. And you have seen there are lots and lots and lots of online tools where you can find information. I have received a number of questions also regarding how to get in touch, how to identify a collaborator. And of course, Brian and his team at the DAAD in Kuala Lumpur, they will, of course, try to support you as much as they can. But please do also remember what I said at the beginning of the session. We have Euraxis Germany, which is really dedicated to networking international researchers with their German research peers. So go on to the Euraxis portal and click on Euraxis Germany, and you will find there is a whole team of people that are waiting to be contacted by you, and they can help you to channel you to the correct institution and hopefully also to the correct individual. I think with this, we can close for today. I had an interesting dialogue yesterday, and one of our speakers said, always be prepared for an opportunity. And I think today was a great session with so many opportunities. I'm sure all of our attendees were prepared, and I hope that many of them will actually put this into practice and apply for the DAAD grants, and of course for all the other funding opportunities by the different agencies and institutions in Germany. With this, I think, Brian, it's time for us to say goodbye. I hope to see you all at other ERD sessions in the next few days. We have the Netherlands on in just under 40 minutes, and then Luxembourg later on at 3 o'clock. So if you're free, then please join us for these two. So once again, Brian, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Susanne.
And I'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.